We could say today that the scriptures are speaking to us today about divine reversal, where you have in the first reading this idea that the places that were not very fruitful in geographical places are suddenly being transformed and becoming abundant. And then we also see in the gospel this divine reversal for the man who was brought in on a stretcher who'd been paralyzed. And there's a key to this entire thing, which I think if we're not attentive to it, because we've heard it so many times, we might miss it completely. Jesus says to the man, "Arise, pick up your stretcher, and go home." Okay? He stood up immediately, it says. But in the Greek, it says anastas. You might say, well, Father Chris, what does that mean? Why are you telling us the Greek? Anastas is similar to the word anastasis, which means resurrection. He didn't just stand up, he was resurrected. In other words, it's foreshadowing something. It is showing us the power of the Lord to heal is the power of his resurrection. It's the power that is released through Jesus, not only on Good Friday, but even beforehand and even afterwards. I say on Good Friday because in both Matthew's gospel and in John's gospel, there's evidence of Jesus giving an Easter gift on Good Friday. In Matthew's gospel, people were immediately raised from the dead when he died. And in John's gospel, Jesus didn't just die, he handed over the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, that is. That's the gift of Easter. But watch the divine reversal. This man was on the mat. He was paralyzed. Anybody know anybody who has been laying in a bed for too long? What begins to happen to their muscles? They atrophy, don't they? Yeah? Okay. This is how we know that this is something spectacular, because not only does he stand up, he's then able to pick up the very thing that he was on. So now that thing is above him, because he's holding it, and he's underneath it. And that shows that Jesus has enabled him to conquer the very thing that was his weakness. He has gone from one moment to having no strength to suddenly having strength. This is why the people said, "We have seen incredible things today." Because somebody doesn't just get up. It took 4 people to carry that stretcher. Well, because he was on it too, but still. The thing we want to ask ourselves is, what divine reversal is God doing for us? The very thing that we might think excludes us, the very thing that we might think is not good or is somehow so negative about ourselves that it somehow disqualifies us, is probably the very thing that the Lord is looking to transform and to resurrect, so that in that he may be glorified, because then people will see it is the Lord and not us. By the way, I think it's very funny that today we're talking about divine reversal in the scriptures, because when I was in the sacristy, I noticed the hymnal had the first and second hymns marked, except it said number 48 was the first hymn and number 63 was the second hymn. And then I realized, no, there is no such thing as a mistake with God. It was a reminder, divine reversal. Divine reversal. That helped me to focus in a little bit more on this. I was just going to talk about him being resurrected. But then seeing the 2 numbers switched, I realized, no, we're talking about divine reversal today. Holy divine reversal. Everything serves the Lord, by the way. So we give thanks to God that when we come to Jesus today, we not only are able to hear him say to us, "Arise, and walk, but also we know that we're not just receiving a word from him, we are receiving the word itself, Jesus. And we're receiving him in his body, blood, soul, and divinity into us. Now, my question to you is this. Where is our faith? Is our faith more in our weaknesses and in our faults and failings and our sinfulness? Or is our faith in Jesus and his ability to heal and reverse every ill? Because if our faith is in us and in the power of sin and the power of our weakness, well, we might receive communion and we might get a little bit of grace, but not much will it do to us because we're coming with a mindset that glorifies the evil or the lack. Whereas instead, if we come with a mindset that says, God is more powerful than anything that I could bring. God is more powerful than any situation. God is more powerful than any disease. And with God, nothing is impossible. Then we come with a mindset that glorifies God and is willing to receive whatever it is that we bring. I remember talking about bringing other people to Mass even if they're not physically present. And one time a woman was moved to do this. She had a nephew who'd been in an accident, and she thought it was already a miracle that he was still alive. He had a traumatic brain injury but was still alive. And she heard that a story about a woman who asks for more healing. The guy she was having prayed for he had stage 4 bone cancer and leukemia. First, the guy was healed of the stage 4 bone cancer after only a month. That doesn't happen without divine grace. But he still had leukemia, and the woman came back and asked for more. And that inspired, and then the guy was healed of the leukemia. That inspired this woman to bring her nephew to Mass spiritually. Okay? When she did, the very next day, he got up out of bed for the first time by himself and was able to give his father a hug. That is, the woman's brother. And the woman knew, when she heard this news, that that was the answer to her prayer of having brought her nephew to receive Jesus in communion at Mass spiritually. So I say that as a reminder that no matter what the situation is or who it is we're praying for, we can be like the friends of Jesus as well. Not only can Jesus transform us, but we can also go and transform others. Do you see the divine reversal? The man who was on the stretcher is now carrying the stretcher. He now is the one able to help people who were in his circumstance. Thanks be to God.